Not only did I play the entire Vans Warped Tour, I also did live sound for 5 bands, and I blew 2 tweeters, and I made a lot of money. What's up, nerds? My name is Cory Bergeron, and you are watching Cory Bergeron Recordings. I haven't made a video in a while, so this is me making a video now, so forgive me. In the summer of 2016, my band, Safe to Say, played on the Vans Warped Tour. We played the entirety of the tour. The tour is about 2 months long, and I had no intent of doing live sound going into doing the tour, but I ended up doing live sound for 5 bands. So let me tell you how this happened. Also, side note, if you would like to hear me talk about different Warped Tour experiences, let me know, because I have tons of stories. It was one of the most insane tours ever. Probably one of the highlights of my life, and yeah. So if you'd like to see more about, or if you'd like to hear more about me and my experience on the Vans Warped Tour, let me know in the comment section down below. Anyways, so summer 2016, the tour starts, I believe, at the end of June, in Dallas, Texas. My band, Safe to Say, is playing on the Full Sail University stage. The way the tour works is it's like a festival style tour. So there's a crew, they set up an outdoor festival, bands play, and then the crew tears down the festival, they drive overnight, and they set up the festival again in a different city the next day. So if you're a band, you play on one specific stage depending on the size of your band, and really quickly you become really good friends with all of your stage mates. There's kind of like a little brotherhood that goes on because everyone wants to support everyone else. About a week or so into tour, some of the bands were complaining about the live sound or the live mix quality, and the way it kind of works is you are allowed to hire your own front of house engineer. You don't have to, and in the case that you don't, the stage crew supplies their own front of house engineer. Now, I'm not trying to throw any shade here. I'm not trying to say that, you know, anyone was doing a poor job. It would be completely unrealistic to expect some stranger that doesn't know your band to know, you know, all the little nuances of your music and be able to, you know, achieve a successful live mix, as well as doing so for 14 other bands on the stage. My friends in a band called Like Pacific, who we were sharing a bandwagon with, asked if I wanted to do live sound for the band, and I told them that I've done live sound before. I've worked off a Yamaha LS9, a Midas X32, and the Behringer X32 as well, but I've never worked off the desk, and I've never actually seen or heard of the desk, and I can't even remember the name of the desk that was used to do sound for that stage, or for our stage. I told them that I would have to kind of figure that out, and then if I could figure that out, then I would attempt it. And they were like, cool. For the following week, so this is probably week 2 of tour, I was shadowing the sound woman that was doing sound, and I would ask her the odd question here or there, trying to get an understanding of how the board operates. If you've worked off any digital consoles, you'll understand that they all basically do the same thing. You just have to figure out, you know, where this button is and how this does that and whatnot. I was watching her, picking her brain, asking her questions, and she was really cool about it. Also, there was a band called Cane Hill that played on the same stage, and they had their own sound guy. And when Cane Hill played, the mix was louder. The mix was, I mean, they're like a heavy, intense band, but like it sounded incredible. It sounded like leagues above the other bands. So, and the reason why is because they had their own sound engineer, or front of house engineer, and he was super familiar with the band. Like, he obviously knows what the band sounds like. So when Cane Hill would play, I would make sure to be there, and I would ask him politely if I could stand in the little fenced off area where, you know, the person is at the desk. And he would let me, and I would watch him literally perform a live mix. And I mean perform, because he was dancing the whole time. He was doing delay throws. He knew every little nuance of the band's songs and whatnot, and delivered like these really awesome mixes. So I would wait for him to finish, and then I would pick his brain and go, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And, you know, one takeaway I learned, well, besides the delay throws, which I thought was really cool, was that he was actually using like master bus compression, as you would within Pro Tools. And he was actually doing a lot of techniques that, yeah, I would do in the studio, and I didn't know if they translated to doing live, because if you ever talk to a live front of house engineer, they tell you that live and studio is very different. So I thought that was really cool. He taught me a bunch of stuff. And after about a week's time of doing that, following the sound girl, or shadowing the sound girl and shadowing this guy, I gained the courage, or I mustered up the courage to do live sound for my friends in Like Pacific. So one day, I don't know where the hell we were, I think they were playing at 8 p.m., which is like the last slot, or the last set in the day. So I decided to do live sound, and nothing caught on fire. Everything went well, it sounded good. I mean, there really is no way to mess it up. because it's a festival tour, so like you're using the same drum kit, the same cabs, the mics don't move. So if I didn't touch a fader, it would have, you know, still sounded like an adequate mix. But went in, did some EQ, and basically treated it like I was just mixing something here in my basement. And yeah, the band was really happy with how it sounded. So from there on out, I did live sound for Like Pacific for the rest of the tour. So well over a month of doing live sound every single day for Like Pacific. From there, my friends in a band called Old Wounds, I can't remember if I approached them and told them I would do sound for them or if they asked me, but shortly after I started doing live sound for my friends in Old Wounds. One thing that I remember distinctly is the bass player of a band called Issues, which is, you know, a really notable band within the alternative music scene. He was watching the Old Wounds set, and I remember he came up to me at the when I was mixing their set at the desk, and he was like, "Dude, I don't know how you make this stage sound so good," which I thought was really cool. It's a good moment that I'll remember forever. So that was that. I was doing sound primarily for Like Pacific and for Old Wounds for an extended period of time, and then the way the tour works is some bands drop off and then some bands join the tour about halfway through. So a band called Capsize joined and a group called Say We Can Fly joined, and they both hired me to do sound for them, which was really cool, so I made some extra bucks there. And then another band that I did sound for was a band called With Confidence, which stage mates, good friends. We've toured with them post Warped Tour, and they were playing their first show in LA. And it was the first time they'd be playing to their record label, Hopeless Records. So they wanted to make sure that, you know, everything went well. So they asked me to do sound, and that was cool. Did sound for them. That is how I ended up doing sound for 5 bands on the Vans Warped Tour. Again, with no intention at the start of the tour to be doing live sound, but it was fun. It was fun to help out my friends in the bands to make sure that their sets were as effective as possible. Also, it didn't hurt that I was making a little extra cash on the side. So there was a stretch for about just under a month where I was doing sound for 4 bands every single day while also playing, you know, a set with my band. And to let you know what like a normal day would look like is you'd wake up around 8:30 a.m. and then you go have breakfast with everyone, and then you find out the schedule for the day between 8 and 10 a.m. and that tells you, like, every single day it's different. You'd play at different times every single day. So I have to not only find when my band plays, but I have to find where the 4 other bands that I'm doing sound for, when they play. And it could be as early as 11:30, and it could go as late as 8 p.m. So my day, one day, for example, would look like I wake up at 8:30, have breakfast, find out at 9:30 that my band plays at 11:30, and then right after my band plays, I have to do sound for, you know, let's say Like Pacific, and then 2 hours later, I have to do sound for Old Wounds, so I gotta make sure that I have lunch before that, and then after Old Wounds, there's a 2-hour break so I can have dinner, and then I might do sound for Say We Can Fly, and right after Say We Can Fly, I do sound for Capsize, and then the day's over at like 8:30, which is, sounds very stressful, but at the time, I honestly don't look back at it and remember it being very stressful, yeah, so there's that. And then I guess one other like notable thing is I realized about halfway through when I started doing sound that I was clipping the power amps. I had no idea, oops, and I ended up blowing 2 tweeters at one point, and thankfully I don't think they knew it was me that blew the tweeters, or maybe they did, but because the tour, like because Warped Tour is so extreme and so intense, they have like backup gear for everything. If a stage goes down, if it happened on the tour where they're driving a stage between one city overnight and they got into an accident, it crashed, they have a backup stage ready to go. So they had tweeters the next day, there's no issues, and yeah, so I didn't get in trouble for that, which is good. Yeah, but don't do that. Alright, anyways, this has been a short little video of me talking about how I did sound on the Vans Warped Tour. Cool experience, thankful for all the bands, or grateful for the experience. Thanks to all the bands for letting me do that, and thanks for the bands that paid me, because that was really cool to make money. So that is the end of the video. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, make sure to drop a like, make sure to comment, make sure to tell your parents that you love them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!